Welcome back to I Studio, and we're going to continue on the cold wax painting that we started a couple of days ago. It's pretty dry, not cured, but dry, and I worked into it a little bit after our last video, and this is where we're at. I think there's some interesting things going on here. I never know where it's going to go at this stage. It's still pretty fresh, but I had an idea. The idea is let's experiment with putting pattern over the top of the light area, and we'll do that by using a stencil and that gold pigment just to get a light patterning here. So let's go into the workroom and see what happens. This is as new to me as it is to you. All right, I've got my palette with the cold wax. And the first thing we're going to do, just like we did in the last video, is we're going to reactivate the surface with the cold wax. I'll just take my scraper, load it, and get a layer of cold wax over the surface. I've got this a little bit too thick. I want to reload my scraper. I didn't like that. You know, this loading of the scraper takes a lot of practice. Okay. And one more time. Just kind of dig into it. Pull it forward. Okay. Now, I've reactivated the top third of the painting with cold wax. I have a stencil here. It is a floral stencil, but I'm just interested in the pattern. I don't really want it to look like a floral. So let me just lay it on so that I'm getting the pattern. And I'm going to take the gold pigment and remember the last time I kind of blew it over the surface? I'm going to try that. Looks good down here. I need to get a little bit more up there. I feel like an airbrush, the human airbrush. Okay. What do you think? Interesting? I kind of like it. Gives me a starting place for today. I just got my stencil in our leftover. Remember that beautiful lavender gray? So let's utilize it. Let's put the stencil down and just take my mistake of laying the stencil where I shouldn't have and see if we can get purple. Huh, that's really kind of a nice pattern. Can you see it? Okay, I've got something new and different in the composition, which is exciting to me. I'm going to take an RNF oil stick. This is just a little piece of one, but RNF sticks are great to use with cold wax. And I'm going to I'm going to come down on the base of this purple because it has a branch-like quality that I like. Let's get some of that up there. Just a touch. Put a touch here. Let's see. Make this dark a little darker. Okay. I like this red. And last week I told you a lot of times you'll come back and your colors will feel more dull than when you left them. And that's the case with this. So I want to go with a cadmium red light, one of my favorite colors. I'm using this one without mixing it. And I do want my small brayer. Okay, I'm scraping over the red that I have to try to give the red a little more depth. It was a little flat, I thought. This is illuminating it from the side in a little side illumination as if there was light coming from this direction. I also have a little bit of red up here, which I want to highlight a bit. Boy, my textures from last time I worked are dried and they're really accepting the paint well. That's really nice. Ooh, beautiful. I like this shape in here, but I think there's a color problem. I'm not certain about that kind of a muddy purple. I think it does need to be dark. And I think what we might want to do is mix a black. It may be time for some black here. I'm going to try blending a little alizarin crimson with a little sap green and see if we can get a black. So theoretically, if you take opposites on the color wheel and blend them together, you can get different shades of black. The thing about blending your own blacks is they have a lot more personality than the blacks that you get out of the tube. So let's see what this gives us. It's a little too much red right now. Let's add a little more of the green. It's not that different than the color I have down here, and I didn't like that color. So just bit by bit, we'll try to adjust it. Now, if you want to check the color, smear it across, and you can see it still has that kind of a brownish. I'm wondering if I should get a little blue in that. Let's try a little phthalo blue. Now I'm kind of heavy on the blue. I'm going to let it have that little bit of a blue halo. I could go on adjusting it until I got it perfect. But let's see. I like having the contrast of this black shape in here. It may be a little too much, but we can judge that later. See how it got blue on that edge here? Here it kind of appears to be black, and then here we're really seeing that kind of greenish blue that I'm not that crazy about. Now, another thing that I wanted to show you, last week we used powdered pigment, and I scraped that across, and this week I want to use pan pastel, and I think color-wise I'm going to try this gold. Uh, I don't see a name printed on here. I just go by the looks. I like this color. Since my black is nice and wet, let's just take a clean palette knife and scrape, scrape, scrape. Whoops. Whoa, good golly. So clumsy. Scrape it loose. Get a little bit of that color on there. And then just like we did last week with the earth pigments, I'm gonna press it in with wax paper. Get my smaller sprayer, grind it in. So now we have some twinkles on that color. I feel like I have a disconnection between this part and that part. I want to bring them together, and I'm wondering what color I should use to bring them together. Possibly blue, white, gold. Uh, I think I'm going to stick with some white-ish color. Here's our good old titanium white. Oh, you know what? I don't even have to mix it because last week we left a big pile of white here. Let's utilize that. I just had covered it with wax paper and it's good as new. Now that's quite white. Let's pick up a little bit of gold. And then you see the beautiful patterns from what was underneath, the beautiful textures that we're getting here. So that's kind of bringing things together a bit more. And because I liked that, I think I'll continue that down here a bit. And see what I'm thinking. Should I take this beautiful blue out or leave it in? Ah, decisions, decisions. Now you hear me talking about foreground, middle ground, and background a lot. And that's what I'm thinking right now. Am I going to establish a white background on this painting? I think so. I had this blue across here that I sort of liked, but I don't think it's critical. I think I'm going to get rid of it. It's a little distracting to me. Okay. Don't be afraid to mess up your gold that we put down earlier. There's a lot to think about, but this in the middle is getting to feel a little too much like almost a flag to me, like a stripe, stripe, stripe. And I don't really like that. Should I go up into this area with a little more of the red? You know, it's never a mistake because later on you're going to have it at least as an underlayer, and red in an underlayer could be fantastic. See what happens when I bring it up into the white? It's getting a little kind of a pinkish look, which I'm not crazy about. If I want to go up into the white, I don't think I'm going to be able to use cadmium red because cadmium red tends to really go pink. And I think I'm going to use gold. I've cleaned the palette up a bit over here, consolidated my paints and scooted them over to the edges. I found yellow ochre, and that is the color I'm going to use. I want that a little bit brighter. Let's mix that with a little of the Naples yellow hue. I'm just kind of going by instinct here. The deeper I go into this painting, the more I feel that we're farther and farther away from finding any composition yet. That's okay. We don't need composition yet. We're in the building stage. I'm also thinking of building bigger blocks of color. A lot of my shapes seem about the same size. So let's get something a little more substantial. Again, we're going over a very wet white with a darker color. I got some interesting texture towards this edge and this edge. And the middle is a kind of textureless. Here's an old brush that I like to use. Give it a couple of whacks. It's gloopy. You can see it's kind of suctiony. So I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to blot some of the yellow with the tissue paper, and at the same time getting texture into it. Sometimes I get really interested in the shape of the tissue paper on the surface and thinking of using that as composition. Oh, now we're getting a little somewhere up here. Going over that blackish color was beautiful. I'm still a little disappointed with the bottom. Um, I think I'm going to go up here a little bit with this. So I like what's happening with that. I really do. See, that's a little gloppy there for me. But I do love the way it looks when it goes over the purple there. I really added another dimension to that purple, which is nice. See if I can get a little more there. Nice. So it's this area that I think is a bit of a problem. Now I'm actually kind of scraping some of that paint off gently. I'm a little more satisfied with that. And now I'm going to knock down these little peaks, at least some of them. I feel like reintroducing some red here. It's a little arbitrary, and I probably won't retain all of that red here. Let me scrape some of that off. And maybe just get a little line of the red in there, little smear of the red. See, you can add and you can subtract the paint. And right now I'm kind of subtracting by scraping some of that off. I like this little arc coming up here, and I want to enhance it by using the edge of the tissue paper, and I've got some black here. I'm going to take a brayer and I am going to go over that. Let's see. Let me load my brayer. Why don't I just go over the edge of this paper? Kind of a veil. And you see what I'm going to do? I'm going to get a real sharp edge where the edge of the paper is. So that's pretty nice. Now, if I don't want that black quite that thick, let's get a scraper and we could scrape it off by pressing into it. Scrape it off like that. I think we might be able to kind of push it up too with our scraper. Yeah, push it up to get kind of a sharp line. That's interesting. Now, maybe I kind of want to repair this gold area. I want a little variety, but I think I have enough of the gold here still that I can scrape my scraper through it and still get the gold scraped up here. It was pretty thick. Still got a lot of gold on the brayer. That's working a little better for me. Reintroducing a little bit of texture. I don't like that arrow shape on the end. Let's go over that. So, what's happening? What's happening now? A little bit of an arc. To me, what it's doing is kind of cutting off the top of the painting and holding this back. I kind of want to get rid of that. Let's see if we can. Well, not really thrilled. So, look at the parts that I do like and the parts that I don't. I like the way the yellow went through the black, and I'm wondering if I can play with that a little bit. Doesn't seem to be doing what I want it to do. It's giving a little more definition to this particular shape here, which is getting a little more definition is definitely what I need. Maybe a little definition down here. And what I mean by that is I'm kind of making outlines of shapes. I don't like that. It's like a pincher or something. Another thing that I do sometimes when I want to find shape is I'll simply outline it. And then I'll go back and refine it a bit. I had liked these kind of branch shapes coming up, but I think I may have gone the wrong direction. They may want to come a little bit more up like this. Of course, I'm not gonna keep all of these scratches in here, but I will keep some of them. See, when you scratch, you're getting through to the bottom layers and you get a nice pattern of color. So, although it does look like a mess, and I'm not going to deny that, I can tell you that some areas are getting a lot more complex, yummy, luscious, a little bit more of what I want. A little bit of almost a misty quality here that I like. It's a little flat, wondering if I should just lightly brayer it. I'm going to rub almost everything off the brayer. Just ever so slightly. Reintroduce a little texture. And then lightly flatten that texture. Ooh. And what just happened here is really interesting because white pressed into the line gave it a beautiful look. So now I'm getting crazy with some beautiful areas, and that's always dangerous, you know. You're like, oh, I love that. Can't do anything there. But it's all starting to happen a bit. I'm going to load the small brayer with black and just lightly go over my black area with more black. Now I'm coming into a white area that's got that gloppiness that I don't like. Reloading. I'm wanting another organic shape in here, I think. Let's see. Oh, that's lining that black up with that too much. Wait a minute. What about that? See the difference if you have your curve going inward? It's kind of holding this in. If I flip it and have the curve going outward, it's kind of letting the painting flow more off of the edge here. This sort of like a parenthesis, holding it on, this letting it flow off. And I'm going to try that. Going to have to wipe that brayer again. Whoa, got a little too enthusiastic with that one. Let's get you down. More like that. I like that. I like that look. I like that effect. So, there you have it. So I'm thoroughly addicted now. I'm not going to be able to leave for a while. This is what I have. I really need to sit back and have a soda and kick my feet up for a minute and think, what is it that I see in this? How can I bring out the form? It's really some beautiful surface, but it's really at this point not going anywhere. It's sort of directionless. So that's the next step, the direction. We'll talk about that next time. Go to your studio. Painting is a practice. Practice makes perfect. Every day in the studio is a good day. We don't know where it's going to lead us, but that's the adventure. That's why it's fun. I'll see you next time. Take care. Please subscribe and share. Oh, this is my 100th video. So I'm pretty excited about that. I feel like I need a celebration or something. See you next time. Bye.